Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks to all of the witnesses for being here today. I especially want to take a moment to acknowledge the heroism of the officers of the U.S. Capitol Police, law enforcement, and other employees of the Capitol who bravely worked to protect our democracy on January 6th and who have done so much work to restore our Capitol since that day. I also want to thank all of the families of our law enforcement and Capitol Hill staff for what they went through watching this unfold in real time. I want to start with a question to Chief Conte, if I could. Chief, Washington, D.C. is obviously no stranger to large assemblies and protests. So what is the standard process for protests in Washington, D.C. when it comes to interagency coordination and information sharing? And following the events of January 6th, what recommendations do you have for improving coordination and information sharing?
Thank you for that question. There are several discussions, meetings that take place between the municipal police department as well as our federal partners. We oftentimes have coordination calls with the National Park Service, simply because in a lot of the federal lands, they authorize the permits for the federal land. So there's coordination that has to happen there between the Metropolitan Police Department, U.S. Park Police, U.S. Capitol Police, U.S. Secret Service. With respect to the intelligence, again, our partners from the FBI, they're often part of those discussions. I think that the thing kind of going forward that certainly needs to be looked at with respect to specific intelligence has been outlined throughout some of the testimony today. When there is specific information that warrants us to perhaps posture differently, our notification system needs to be different. The JTTF distribution list that we have is not something that is a monitored list 24 hours a day, 7 days a week that would generate an immediate response to that. When those communications are sent out, there are staff members who at some point will get to that information. But I think that, that has been laid out, when we're talking about something of this magnitude that could potentially happen and ultimately did happen in our city, it should posture us to move differently. Perhaps with convening phone calls, immediately and not, counting on an email or something, making it through the chain, to the levels that it needs to make, for other decisions to be made.
Well, thank you for that answer. One of the things I would observe is sometimes ahead of events like these, just scheduling ongoing check-ins with leadership at all of the agencies that need to coordinate can have the effect of sharing information in real time. I want to move to a question to Mr. Stanger, Mr. Irving, and Mr. Sund. The Secretary of Homeland Security has the authority to designate events with national and international significance as national special security events, but that didn't happen for January 6th, even given the threat information readily available ahead of time. Designated events are eligible for expanded federal support related to the security of the events. So prior to January 6th, did anyone from the Department of Homeland Security contact you about a potential national special security event designation? And we'll start with you, Mr. Sund, and then move to the others.
Thank you, ma'am. No, I'm not aware of anybody from DHS reaching out and requesting, if we want to follow up, if this wanted to be a national special security event, or if we were going to request that to be, or if they were going to identify and designate what they call a SEER, a special event rating, to the event. No, I'm not aware.
Thank you. Mr. Stenger and Mr. Irving.
No one contacted me.
Thank you.
And the same with me, Senator. No contact with me or my office.
Well, thank you for those answers. I look forward to following up with the Department of Homeland Security about this during the next hearing on this topic. Mr. Sund, my last question. The officers of the Capitol Police work each and every day to keep the U.S. Capitol safe and secure. We are all grateful for the brave work of the U.S. Capitol Police officers on January 6th. Tragically, the law enforcement community has now lost 2 officers to suicide since January 6th as a result of the insurrection and the events then. My thoughts, and I'm sure the thoughts of all of us here today, are with the families of MPD Officer Jeffrey Smith and U.S. Capitol Police Officer Howard Liebengood. Mr. Sund, what mental health resources are currently available to the United States Capitol Police officers, and are these resources sufficient?
The department has brought in significant mental health resources, and I certainly do appreciate your recognition of that. I've talked to a number of officers who have definitely gone through the battle and feel that they're feeling a lot of trauma from it. But I know the chief of police, the acting chief, has brought in significant resources. We had the employee assistance program, but they brought in a number of outside contractors that have gotten very good response. So I think there's a lot of mental health resources available, and I know a number of officers are taking advantage of it, which I'm happy to see.
Well, so am I, and I would encourage all officers who feel that they could benefit from counseling to reach out for it. And I would certainly encourage, and I'm sure my colleagues here would too, that all leadership in law enforcement reach out to us if they feel the resources are strained or need bolstering in some way. Thank you all for your service. Thank you very much for your testimony and for being here today. To the chair and ranking members of our respective committees, thank you so much for organizing this hearing.